Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your girl Chanté, back with another episode of Chatting with Chanté. How in the world are y'all doing? Me, I think my mouth is still on the floor. Did y'all catch the premiere on Lifetime of the movie Single Black Female? Honey, the movie been off for how long now? For about almost 15 minutes, and I'm still like, that movie was good, okay? That movie was good. So as y'all can see from the title, we're going to be talking about the movie just because, honey, I had to hurry up and get on here because this was a really good movie. So I will say, because the movie literally just premiered, so I'm pretty sure they're going to be showing the rerun and things like that. So if you haven't seen it just yet, you know, because I'm not going to, I don't know. I was trying to debate, do I want to give spoilers or not? Because again, the movie just came out. So I'm going to try not to go too much into detail. But if I end up slipping out with some information, I'm sorry. So that's the disclaimer right now. It may not be heavily filled with spoilers, or it might be. I don't know. So do with that information what you will. If you haven't seen it just yet and it was something that you wanted to watch, but you didn't get around to watching it when it premiered, then wait till you watch it and then come back, okay, so we can really talk about it. But for those who are still here, who A, have already watched it, or B, didn't have any intention on watching and don't care about spoilers, baby, that movie was good. I was super excited to, well, before we get into all that, make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified when I drop a video. Get your snacks, get your drinks, prop your feet up, and let's get it, let's go. Anyway, so when they announced this movie, because you know it's Black History Month, period, so we have a whole bunch of different Black movies to look forward to. Next week we have Line Sisters with Latoya Luckett, Drew Sidor, and some other amazing people, so that's going to be good. But when they were showing the trailer for this one, baby, now if you know the classic Single White Female, then you know our own twist to it, of course. But baby, talk about twist after twist after twist. So it stars Raven Goodwin. She plays Simone. And then we have Miss Amber Riley. Wait, who played who? See, they look alike. Okay, they actually look alike. Let me make sure. Amber Riley played Simone. Raven played Monica. See, you see? And we have some amazing people. Now, we knew K. Michelle was also in it. She played Monica's best friend, BB. But, you know, when Aunt Viv popped up, and then also a few cameo appearances from Miss Karen, I hope I'm saying her name right. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. But Victoria off the Oval, you know, Tyler Perry show. And then also the man who plays Zach on Tyler Perry's show Sisters. Yeah, so we had some Tyler Perry cameo appearances up in there. They played their roles very, very well. Honey, this movie had me on the edge of my seat. And as it went on, it was like, oh my goodness. Now, like I said, Raven played, listen, I'm trying to get like the faces because I don't know why, and maybe it's just me, I never thought they looked alike, but then again, I never thought about it in that aspect. I don't know, until we see them in the movie. It's like, oh, that actually makes sense. Like, I guess it was one of those things where you never thought about it, but when you actually saw it, you know, in a project or together, it's like, that actually makes sense, and how come I never thought to realize that, right? So Raven, she plays Monica. Now Monica is like this real nice established woman, okay? She's like a talk show host, and she's fighting with another lady, not fighting, but she's competing with like another co-star, co-worker, you know, for this elaborate spot at the talk show station, because, you know, Karen, she's stepping down and she's looking to fulfill that spot. So she's, you know, doing her thing for that. Now it starts off at a funeral, okay? And the funeral is actually for Monica's father who passed away. And it was some eerie situations going on. First of all, the funeral scene, because we get introduced to her boyfriend, Andre. I didn't like Andre from jump, okay? I didn't like Andre from the get-go. First of all, you're not going to have your cell phone going off at my father's funeral, loud as ever. And then we at the after service where everybody meets up at the family's house to give their condolences and stuff like that, and you talking about, do you want to go upstairs and have some grieving sex? Boy, what? See, I didn't like him. Okay, the mama didn't like him. Aunt Viv, she ain't like him. I didn't like him. BB really wasn't messing with him. I didn't really like, he seemed kind of arrogant. I don't know. But it was one part, okay, and they made sure we saw this, where towards the end of the funeral or whatever, we saw this lady. She was sitting way in the back, and she was like fully, like you couldn't see nothing, like a black veil, all black, you know, and she, you know, walked out. And I'm just like, well, who is she supposed to be? Turns out it was old girl, but we're gonna get to that later. So boom, we get that, and then of course we get introduced to K. Michelle. Listen, K. Michelle's character, K. Michelle did her thing, okay? K. Michelle did her thing. And when you have like a high profile like singer who's going into acting, it's kind of hard to like, and not to bring Beyonce into this, but like whenever Beyonce plays in a role, it's really hard for me to be like, oh my God, or for me not to be like, oh my gosh, Beyonce, you know, trying to put her in that character, but because it's Beyonce, you know. So same thing with K. Michelle, but, or any high profile like artist who's, you know, going into acting. But K. Michelle did her thing. Like, she played the supportive best friend, ride or die. She was not with the foolishness from the get-go. She didn't hold back. She said what was on her mind. She's looking for love, okay? She's looking for sugar daddy. She was trying to hit on Monica's great uncle or whoever. She's just looking for love, and she's down for whatever. Like, as soon as she met Simone, she was not rocking with her. Like, she has, like, you know, a real heavy sense of people's auras and stuff like that. Listen, that part where she was trying to sage Monica's place, but she didn't have no sage, so she used Laurie's seasons out. Baby, I screamed. Do you understand me? But yeah, and then we also get introduced to Mrs. Fletcher, who is Monica's neighbor. Listen, that woman was a hoot, okay, for the little bit of time we saw her. But when we saw her, listen, Miss Fletcher is like, girl, I don't like people up in my house just the way I don't like people up in my business, okay? Thank you. But this movie was so good. Now, I don't keep saying that rant because it was just really, really good. Like, when I think about everything that went on. So who else? And of course we have Aunt Viv and her relationship with Monica, like their mother-daughter relationship. Like, it's good, but you can tell they, you know, exchange words or they have their disagreements more often than either one of them would like, you know. When they were leaving the funeral, or they were at the house after the funeral, you know, Monica, she was saying how good of a father her dad was, and, you know, his different sayings, and, you know, how he was with people. And her mother was like, you know, I like what you said at the funeral, but you could have went into more like his businesses and his organizations, his campaigns and stuff like that, because he was the mayor of, I think they're in Houston, don't quote me, but yeah. So, you know, they have a little disagreement on that, but then they make up. Then the love interest comes in. Why can't I remember his name? But he plays Zach on Sisters, okay? He is so handsome, but he's like a floor designer or something at the news station or the talk show station. So they get introduced and they give each other little googly eyes. He and Monica, they're looking like, how you doing? He was real cute. Even the mama was like, girl, don't you get involved in no little work relationship, okay? But whatever. So now let's fast forward to, and then Monica, she works with this girl. Like, they're kind of like they're at the same level, and they're kind of like competing with one another to get this spot of, like, you know, this big segment, you know, tea time or tea talk or whatever. And the lady, Kayron, she's, you know, scoping them both out. So they're both trying to get that position for themselves. So her name is, I thought they was calling that girl LED, like LED lights. I was like, LED? What? But it's like Melody, but without the M. So LED. But I was like, LED it is. Okay, I'm gonna call you LED. And she turned out to be a real little backstabber, okay? She's one of those people that, yeah, we might be friends, but I'll do whatever I have to do to get to the top. I'm gonna talk crap about you. I'm gonna step on your toes, blah, blah, blah. Wasn't really rocking with her from the beginning anyway. So then we're gonna get introduced to Miss Amber Riley's character, Simone. So turns out Monica's old assistant quit. So she, unbeknownst to her, because she did have to take time away, you know, due to her father's funeral and the grief process and stuff like that. So by the time she got back to the office, everything was in shambles. So she gets introduced to Simone, and Simone right off the back is giving me, you're crazy. You're crazy. If y'all have ever seen, what's the movie? Not Single Black Female. Death of a Cheerleader, which is one of my favorites, actually. One of my very first Lifetime movies that kind of got me into Lifetime movies. You know, you got the little homely girl who doesn't really have any friends. She's not really popular. And then she gets, you know, in with the in crowd or whatever. And there's one specific person who she's like really like obsessed with, and, you know, she's like, why won't you love me? And she's just obsessed. Yeah, that's kind of how this was. So it was kind of like your typical, you know, I don't want to say loser, but like unpopular girl, and, you know, she becomes fascinated with someone like a high profile person or somebody she just randomly meets, and she becomes obsessed with their lives and things like that. That's exactly what this was. But again, so many different plot twists were going on. So we get introduced to her, and basically she's her new assistant. And because Monica's going through some stuff, you know, she's not really giving, you know, all her bubbly energy to her just yet. So she's like, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Okay, whatever. And so that's that on that. And then come to find out, because while they were meeting for the first time, Simone did tell Monica that, you know, she's new to the area. She just moved from Virginia and, you know, she's going apartment hunting and blah, blah, blah. Turns out the apartment that she's looking at, you know, later on that day is the apartment right next to Monica. And that right there would have just had me, like, there was too many red flags from the get-go. Like, before Ish even hit the fan, there were too many red flags from the get-go, okay? Like, ma'am, I already got to see you at the office. Now I got to come home and you're right there. That's too, no, see, I'm just one of those people, okay, that, yeah, at the job, at the office place, okay, I'ma see you. But once we clock out, or once it's time for us to punch our numbers in, or whatever we gotta do, that's that on that. And I'll see you when we're scheduled together. Like, that's too close for comfort, okay? Too close to comfort. And the only reason why she was able to move in that place, because again, Monica's neighbor is Mrs. Fletcher, who don't like no company, she don't like people in her house or her business. So the only reason why she was able to move into that place, because that is Mrs. Fletcher's place, is because she had a wad of $100 bills. And I'm just like, where you get that money from? Did they establish where she got that money from? Or was she just balling? Because what? So yeah, at first Monica's like, girl, what the heck? But then they start having drinks and kikiing, and now Monica's spilling all of her business. And I'm just like, she didn't even get a chance to sit down in your office before you dismissed her, and now y'all are sipping wine and you're crying to her. No, I didn't trust it at all. Then she spent the night or whatever, was wearing the girl clothes. It was too early on, okay? Too many red flags. And here's Monica just trying to be, you know, giving people the benefit of the doubt. Okay, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and going back to her boyfriend, Andre. So towards the end of the funeral or whatever, when they're at the house, he's talking about, you know, I love you. I will always be there for you, always and always. She's like, always and always? Yeah, always and always. Baby, don't you know a couple of days later, she's packing up his stuff because he cheated the day after her funeral, or her father's funeral? And I'm just like, and now I have to go back because the timeline makes sense of all that's going on. But I was just like, what's really going on? So then we get Simone and BB meeting. BB is K. Michelle's character again. BB is Monica's best friend. And listen, BB from the get-go was not rocking with Simone, like from the get-go, like, and she didn't try to hide it either. Like, at first she was trying to be nice, but she was like, nah, something's up with her. Did you do a background check on her? See, BB's like me. Listen, if you're Googleable, I'ma Google you, okay? Like, you have to nowadays. And so she was, you know, doing background checks and stuff on people, and Monica was like, I would rather get to know people in person, you know? And Baby was like, well, we see how that turned out with Andre, okay? Not good. So this girl is crazy, all right? But don't take my word for it or whatever. So now as the time goes on, we see, because now at this point, Raven, I'm saying their real names, Monica and Simone, they are beyond like a employee or assistant and boss level now. Well, they live next door, so they're really, really close now, or not as close as Simone would like or is imagining it or making it seem to be, but you know, they're becoming close and drinking and having food and stuff like that. Monica's giving the girl clothes or whatever, and I'm just like, okay. And mind you, this whole time now we're like 30 minutes into the movie, an hour, you know, time is going on, and no one's seen Mrs. Fletcher. Like, no one's asking about her, no one's ringing her doorbell, the Girl Scouts aren't trying to sell her cookies, like, no one's seen Mrs. Fletcher, okay? And BB called Simone out on that, you know, when they were having a little wine night or whatever outside, and they were spitting back some little shady remarks to one another, and BB came out the gate like, so where's Mrs. Fletcher? Because, you know, usually she would be out here in our business. So where's Mrs. Fletcher? And Monica was like, that's a good question. Where is Mrs. Fletcher? Because I haven't seen her. And then Simone made up some lie or whatever. But as time goes on, you know, we see that Zach, I'm gonna call him Zach. No, I'm calling him Eric because his name in the movie is Eric, but I'm thinking Zach because that's who he plays on Sister. So if I go from Zach to Eric, I'm talking about the same person, and I'm so sorry. But Eric and Monica, they're flirting with each other, you know, and stuff like that. So now they're budding a relationship, going out and things like that. And that's the guy that Simone keeps bumping into, and she's developing a crush on him. Now, in her head, she's thinking he's feeling the same way. Like, she's thinking the energy he's giving her is like, yes, I want to be with you, I like you, blah, blah, blah. And that's not the case. He's just being a nice guy, you know, speaking to you, what's going on. And so she's like, I'm gonna ask him out. Because now at this point, you know, Miss Simone, because she came in looking all homely and frumpy, and, you know, they going shopping and stuff like that, and she's getting her wardrobe together. Baby had 6 different hairstyles within 10 seconds of the movie. I was like, bruh, what's going on? Okay. And so she's, you know, getting her makeup done and looking all cute and stuff, all because she's trying to, 1, look like Monica, and 2, impress this dude, unbeknownst to her that, you know, the dude that she likes Monica, and Monica likes him, and they finna go out. So yeah. And then when she found that out, she went ballistic in that elevator, just because I don't know why. So what else happened, child? So much was going on. Andre was still trying to get Monica back, you know, trying to plead his case. She wasn't really trying to hear it, as she shouldn't, because why are you cheating? Okay? Why are you cheating? And what else? What else happened? So much. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but here I am talking about everything that happened in the movie. But let's get into the meat and potatoes of it all. So we find out the reason. Oh, the white girl who Monica works with. She was talking crap about Monica, okay, while she was getting on the elevator. Now, because, you know, Simone's like a little frumpy new intern, she ain't really paying too much attention to her. So she's on the phone like, you know what, I know she's grieving. Just saying all this other type of stuff, basically saying, you know, she's gonna do whatever she has to do to secure that spot to be the next talk show host for Tea Talk or Tea Time. And so Simone is not rocking with her, okay, not rocking with her at all. And then Monica picks up on the attitude that Elodie is giving her, and Simone's right there. So Miss Elodie, she's in the parking garage by herself, and, well, you know, chokes her out. She didn't kill her. She didn't kill her because, she was recovering, but whatever. And, child, the thing about that part, though, is, of course, Monica didn't know because, duh. But I was really hoping, there's 2 things. I was really hoping that no one suspected Monica was the reason that happened, because if somebody was there, you know what I'm saying? Because you got to remember, at this point, Elodie and Monica, they're kind of feuding a little bit, and it's kind of not known to everybody, but, you know, Simone knows it. The lady who's going to be picking who gets her spot, she kind of senses it. A couple other people who are right there, they kind of sense that there's this tension because, you know, they're the 2 main candidates for this spot. So, you know, I was really hoping, because when she walked in, when everything had happened, everybody was, you know, whispering, excuse me, when everybody was whispering, I thought they was looking at her like, you know what I'm saying? So I was really hoping that, because people knew they had some tension going on, I was hoping that they wouldn't be like, you know, they have a description of the person who did this. She's, you know, darker skin, she's a fuller figured woman, short hair, you know, all this other type of stuff, because no ma'am, I'm sorry. But anyway, I was really hoping that, you know, they didn't give a description, or they didn't say, you know, we saw somebody in the garage at that time and it looked like you. Like, I hope they didn't do that, because but they didn't, thank goodness. And secondly, after Monica found out, she gave a little speech to like the producers and the whole team about how we care about the well-being of everybody here, and, you know, we're gonna grieve and we're gonna, you know, uplift, you know, all this other type of stuff. Her and Simone go shopping and they're posting pics, and, you know, and I know y'all wasn't the best of friends, y'all had y'all's tension going on, but to me, like, as an outsider, because you have to think, who would want to do this to Elodie? Like, who would have some sort of a motive to do this? You know what I'm saying? Besides a crazy sicko that's hiding out in parking garages. But if somebody on the team had a motive, the main person would be Monica, just because they're both fighting for the same spot and they were bickering a little bit. So you think the best thing to do right now is to be going shopping and posting pics? Like, yeah, girl, what? And then there's this red dress because when Monica was giving her the clothes, you know, because she was trying to look at her same outfits, there was a red dress that was in the pile, and she explained to her, no, you can't have that one just because, you know, my father gave me that dress and it meant a lot to me, so you can't have that one, but you can have the rest of these. Don't you know Simone's crazy self, because this is a night where Monica and Eric, they're out, you know, not having sex, having drinks, and, you know, they're on their date. And Simone, she's in the girl house because she was supposed to drop off her dry cleaning and her keys and stuff like that. And she goes up to her room, Monica's room, and she putting on the red dress, the sacred red dress. She dancing around and stuff like that. Then fast forward, Eric and Monica, they coming upstairs, and she hiding in the closet while they getting it on. Don't you know Simone was in that closet playing with her hot tamale while they was getting it in? I said, and she couldn't just walk out because why are you here? So she was in the closet that whole time. The whole time they was getting it in. And then that morning, or not that morning, but like, you know, some hours later while they're sleeping, she's coming out the bathroom or the closet creaking and squeaking and breathing heavy, and ain't nobody heard that. Nobody heard all that. The but Monica actually did hear it, and right when she was like leaving out the door, as Simone was walking out the door, Monica was like, girl, what you doing in my house? Like, what's going on? And Simone made up this lie because, again, she didn't have to drop off the dry cleaning and the keys. So she had the keys in her hand, obviously. And she was like, oh, girl, I thought I left the keys early. I was just dropping them off. I wasn't trying to wake you up. My bad. And good night. Don't you know Monica was like, oh, okay. Girl, okay. It's too many red flags piling up. No one's seen Mrs. Fletcher. This the second time you done came out your room to this girl still being in your house. She keeps changing her look, okay? And Elodie's in the hospital. Like, it's too much going on. Like, too many weird events have happened since this girl has come into your life, and you're just shrugging it off like it's no big deal. You get mad at your best friend because she's sensing some weird vibes, and not to mention she threatened or she got real aggressive with Eric in the elevator. Oh, girl. All because, you know, her little feelings hurt because that was her crush, and it's too much, okay? Too much. Now, the messed up part about this whole thing, okay? Now, I guess because Eric was a little excited, he didn't last as long as he usually does in bed. Okay, whatever. They, you know, he and Monica, they laughed it off, kissed it off, whatever. But of course, Simone was in there the whole time. So the next day, because she kept making a point, like, you can tell me what's going on with you and Monica. You're like, we're best friends. We were like sisters, okay? We talk about everything. So Eric's there, you know, setting up and stuff. And here comes Simone behind the camera looking crazy, might I add. But she comes and she's like, girl, or sir, I just want to apologize to you for the other day in the elevator. Like, don't mind me. But all I want to know is, what's your true intentions with Monica? Because, you know, she's in a fragile place. She just broke up with her boyfriend, and what's really going on, okay? And he said something, but then he was like, or she was like, well, word of advice, if you're gonna be taking advantage of her, make sure to get your time up. What? Girl, why would you say that to that man, okay? Because you could tell he was already feeling a little bit of a way, you know, while he was in bed smooching it up with Monica. And now you're gonna say this to him? Now, again, because she keeps making it known that, you know, she and Monica talk about every single thing, to him it's looking like, oh, Monica called and, you know, was talking about me and stuff like that. So she gets to work, he's micing her up, and he's not really rocking with her, and she's like, I had a good time, what's going on? And he's like, you know, I just want to keep it professional, okay? Only a few more seconds, like alluding to what's his problem but not really saying it. And you know that they had a little issue, but they resolve it once, you know, she starts to put two and two together. And yeah, child, get back to Aunt Viv, baby. Get back to Aunt Viv. So fast or rewind a little bit to when Monica was telling Aunt Viv, okay, her mother, that she had a new assistant. Okay, her name is Monica from Virginia, you know, going down the list of things about her. And baby, as she was going over these details about Simone, I'm sorry. And Aunt Viv was like, she from where? What's her name? Oh, And we all like, girl, why you making that face? What you know? What you know? Because at this point, everybody's kind of speculating, like, okay, they have to be sisters, okay? Because they wouldn't have these people resembling each other for no reason. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know to play up the fact that, you know, she's obsessed with her life and wants to be like her and stuff like that. But, come on now. So, a lot of people was already like, okay, they have to be sisters or something. So, Miss Simone, she gets a message from DH, and she's like, who the is DH? Oh, Denise Harris, that's Monica's mama. So she wants to meet up. And so they meet up for lunch or breakfast or whatever the case is. Don't you know Simone stole that red dress, that sacred red dress that her daddy gave to her? Just to wear at the meeting with the mama. Baby, I screamed because, girl, you're crazy. And so they're sitting down, and Simone's like, yeah, I'm so glad you wanted to reunite. Yeah. And Viv was like, girl, you think I want to have a reunion with you? No, I'm trying to get rid of you, okay? If you think you're going to mess with my daughter, you got nothing coming. So here's $100,000, okay? Like, everything was great until you came into our lives, all right? And I'm much better than the whore that raised you. I said, wait a second. Flag on the play, time out, stop, both teams separate, you come here. What did you say? Honey, so turns out, okay, and everybody's speculations was correct. Turns out Simone is Monica's half-sister because the daddy was stepping out on Aunt Viv, had Simone, and yeah. So I was like, oh, wow. And again, we kind of put two and two together as time went on. But when Aunt Viv admitted it, and, you know, we found out, it was like, oh, wow. Okay, well, and then she ended up knocking Andre out with a fire extinguisher, killing him. Okay. So then she goes to Aunt Viv's house, and she's like, look, girl, I'm gonna kill you, okay? You wanna know what happened to the last person that tried to get me to leave? And then, don't you know, sis took a JanSport backpack? And this is the backpack she's been this is the very backpack she's been lugging around this entire movie, okay? Like, just lugging it, like, yeah, girl, like, she got a MacBook Pro up in there and some textbooks. Like, just lugging it around. Don't you know when she opened that backpack, it was Mrs. Fletcher's head? I was like, okay, so you're crazy. You crazy. And then did y'all peep when we saw her, like, one of the first few times when she walked into the apartment, Simone, when she walked into Mrs. Fletcher's apartment, she's like, oh, girl, you stink. Okay, and she started spraying. I was like, did she poop? Like, what's going on? No. Her body toxins, her aroma was coming through the vents, baby. Oh, she had Mrs. Fletcher's head. Y'all, this is the backpack she was carrying. I don't think y'all hear me. This was the very same JanSport backpack that she was flinging around like, ooh, yeah. Nobody smelled that. No, because if she had it everywhere, nobody smelled that, like at the office or nothing. Like, girl, did you bring a tuna sandwich? Like what the? Nobody smelled that. Yeah, child. She had Mrs. Fletcher out there looking like the headless hooligan, child. And so, do y'all just imagine somebody walking past you with a backpack on and they got a head in there? Could you imagine? Could you? But anyway, so she ends up, so by this point, okay, whatever, BB's on the phone because she was getting information from people who know Simone from a past life or, you know, years before, and she's getting all the tea and information. So she's calling Monica like, girl, you got to get up out of here, this girl is crazy, boom boom boom. And Monica and Simone have a little confrontation, and she ends up choking her in the parking garage and tying her up. And that's what she reveals, you know, the reason as to why she's doing everything. So basically, to sum all of this up so this video won't be hella long, the reason why Simone is exacting revenge or whatever is because of the fact that she never had that family dynamic that she's always wanted. Okay, here we have Monica, who has her father and her mother, and you know, she's this amazing person, and Simone didn't have that because, well, you know, their father wasn't in her life, he was in Monica's life, and they, you know, paid money, or I guess paid her mom money to, you know, get rid of her, either get rid of her or never like bring her around, one of the two. And you know, Aunt Viv was in the closet stuffed up, well, not stuffed up, Jesus, but tied up. And K Michelle, she's in there, and she walked in. Every time everybody walked in Miss Fletcher's house, they're like, oh God, it stinks, because there's dead bodies. Y'all, if I cough one more time. Anyway, sorry. So yeah, it's because there's dead bodies. My thing is, because is that apartments? I'm thinking how their vent system could be, because I know in apartments, you know, if something funky is going on or whatever, you can smell it through your vent system after a while. And we saw Mrs. Fletcher for a quick 1-2 seconds. She been dead for a minute, okay? The whole duration of the movie, Miss Fletcher been chopped off, okay? And my thing is, because they're so, like, they're right there, they're connected, they didn't smell that next door. I'm just trying to figure out how their units are set up, because, honey, after a couple of days, I would assume you could smell something going on up there. I don't know, but yeah, they walked in like, whoo, baby, it stinks. Okay, so K Michelle, she's going through there, she's opening up doors looking for Monica, and that's where she discovers Mrs. Fletcher, like in the utility closet where the water heater, water pressure thingy's at, looking like the headless hooligan, and Andre's there next to her, and I'm just like, and while she discovered that, she didn't call 911, she keeps calling Monica, and I'm just like, ma'am, Monica's about to be the next headless hooligan. I need you to call the police, okay? But that's how we figure all of that out. And then, of course, there's this big brawl. You know, she sets the stuff on fire. And Simone is the one who killed their daddy, okay? Because she did have a meeting with him. So he reached out to her, the daddy. He reached out to her and, you know, wanted to talk with her and stuff like that. And everything was going great up until he said, listen, I don't think it'll be a good idea for you to, you know, meet Monica or try to get involved with her, because she has this talk show going on. She has a lot going on, and it wouldn't be good for her brand. So she felt really offended by that. So while he wasn't looking, Mama, she poured the drug that she brought in with her into his drink, and had him sip it. And now we have his funeral. And of course, that was her at the funeral. And I'm just like, okay. And so then we find out she's the reason her mama dead. She killed her mama in a house fire. She tried to kill them in a house fire. It didn't work. I thought BB was dead for a second, honey. I thought she was a goner, but she pulled through. She got her a fine man. What's the woman name? Monica ended up getting that spot at the talk show, and all is well, okay? Well, Simone's dead, but all is well, okay? I know I was kind of all over the place with this review just because the movie literally just went off, but I have so much to do, so I wanted to get this review out for y'all. But baby, that movie was good, and if you haven't seen it, I'm so sorry. I warned y'all at the beginning, okay? If you haven't seen it, then don't watch this review, because, you know, and I tried to go into too much detail, but the movie was just too good and there was too many points to be made. So sorry, y'all, but I am going to put in the title that this does contain spoilers. So forgive me if, you know, I ruined it, but I don't think I did if I gave y'all a disclaimer. But anyway, let me know how y'all liked the movie. Did y'all watch it? Did y'all expect that ending? Did you expect all the plot twists? Let me know, and I will catch y'all in the next video. But until then, I love y'all. Bye.